Hello everyone, welcome to this week's Astrology News Report, an alternate view of world events as seen through the lens of Vedic Astrology. Presented by yours truly, Ron Berger. Today is December 28th, 2014. So let's take a look at the week that was and how the planets' positions in the zodiac matched up with the past week's events. Incredibly, the North Korea Sony Pictures hackathon grew even more legs last week. Now it's officially a First Amendment rights issue. A few days after Obama promised retaliation, North Korea's own infant web network somehow got knocked out for a day, and hasn't been working that well since. North Korea immediately pointed the finger at the U.S., which denied any culpability. Then, Sony announced an about-face. The movie would get screened on Christmas Day after all, as well as being distributed on the Internet. After all the ruckus, it became almost a patriotic duty to go see the movie, to show Kim Jong-un that Americans won't be intimidated. So, what is going on with the planets to bring all this brouhaha? As I showed in last week's show, the problems of Venus, the planet of entertainment, can become the problems of Hollywood. And the participation of Pluto suggested that, somehow, this whole incident would be a game changer. But now, the incident has grown past a corporate whodunit hacking event and brought up much larger issues of sovereign nations sponsoring internet warfare. Is there an astrological indication of some larger, long-term pattern? Looking over at the USA chart, the main culprit seems to be the recent entry of Saturn into Scorpio, the USA chart's 12th house. The planet of structure, harsh reality, and penalties, in the USA chart 12th house, the house of secret plots, espionage, and foreigners. Saturn is going to be in this position for 2 more years. We can expect more of this sort of thing in the near future. Mars, the planet of aggression and conflict, has been getting closer and closer to an exact opposition to Jupiter, the planet of laws, justice, ethics, and morality. Mars is also the planet that represents soldiers and the police. The recent shootings of unarmed black men by police in various cities across the USA, and more recently the ambush shooting of 2 New York City police officers, has brought the national conversation on justice to a high boil. All during the week there was a volley of blame, seeking to pin the killing of the police officers on the protesters, who have not ceased demonstrating their anger over killing of the black men by white police officers. The police have responded with their own grievances, and every politician seems to be jumping on board. The Mars-Jupiter opposition, which demonstrates all of this, continues until January 4th, when Mars breaks off by moving into Aquarius, to be replaced with more benign Venus and Mercury. Maybe then things will cool down a bit. As reported in past weeks, the Uranus Ketu conjunction in Pisces, a water sign, is an energy pattern that brings water disasters. Last week, Malaysia and southern Thailand suffered some of the worst monsoon rains in decades, and the resulting floods have forced hundreds of thousands to flee their homes. Then on Saturday, the moon entered Pisces, and adding more energy to the Uranus-Ketu combination. Almost immediately, there was an event. An AirAsia Airliner went down in stormy weather off the coast of Java on its way to Singapore. Here's the chart of the time of the last contact, a half hour after the plane took off. Note the rising sign, Sagittarius, has its ruler, Jupiter, placed in the 8th house of calamities. And the ominous Moon-Uranus Ketu combination in Pisces, it shows up in the 4th house of outcome of the action. Shortly thereafter, another calamity on the ocean occurred when a ferry off the coast of Greece with nearly 500 people on board caught fire. Again, bad weather made rescue efforts difficult, which are still ongoing at the time of this recording. And there's more. Thousands of tourists have been trapped in the French Alps when a much-anticipated snowstorm dumped more than had been expected, causing road accidents, disrupting plane travel, and plunging the popular ski resort area into chaos. The Pontiff's annual Christmas address to the assembled bishops and cardinals is normally a bland affair. But now, with this new pope, you never know what to expect. And sure enough, last Monday, while the moon was conjunct Mercury and self-righteous Sagittarius, Pope Francis let loose on the Vatican critters with both barrels. Francis chose the occasion to issue a stinging critique, accusing the priests, bishops, and cardinals who run the Curia, the central administration of the Roman Catholic Church, of careerism and opportunism, social exhibitionism, and spiritual Alzheimer's. Francis warned his prelates against drifting downwards towards mediocrity and urged them to be conscientious objectors to gossip. So, what's got the Pope so riled up? Usually he's happy and smiling. Well, let's take a look at his chart. Here we find that the Jupiter-Mars pattern lands in his 2nd and 8th houses. And Mars was right on top of his natal moon. Not exactly a combination for warm, cuddly feelings. Meanwhile, Jupiter, the planet of morals and ethics, is transiting in his 2nd house of speech. And Mercury, planet of communications, along with Venus, planet of guidance, were transiting in self-righteous Sagittarius, which in this chart is the 7th house of relationships. So, there you go. A pope on the edge. Okay, that'll do it for this week's review of the week. You can keep up with daily astrological developments and contribute your own thoughts by following me on Twitter at Astro News Report.